Hey people, I'm Krista with Botanical Bird, and today I want to talk about pots. All types of different pots for your plants, what's best for what types of plants, and considerations when deciding to pot your plant or repot it. So you may notice I'm wearing the same thing as in my last video. No, I'm not reusing my outfit, although I totally do that a lot. I just filmed this on the exact same day. So there are kinds of different realms of thought when talking about pots. When I first started out as a plant parent, I was very much into I have to get a new pot for every plant that I get, and it has to have drainage holes, and if it doesn't, I'm going to drill them. I was definitely more into finding a pot for each plant that looked really cute and that went well with my apartment vibe, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think I was working harder instead of smarter. And so I was getting a lot of ceramic pots that were glazed and drilling holes in them, and then having to have drip trays under the plants, which I still have a lot of drip trays. Then I realized that was a lot of work and putting the plant through stress right after I got the plant. Repotting it is not the greatest idea because you want to let your plant acclimate. And then I started watching more videos from Plantarina, and I instead switched to putting plants in terracotta pots because terracotta is very porous and absorbs a lot of water, and I wouldn't have to drill any holes in the bottom because at my local Home Depot or Lowe's, all of their terracotta pots already have a drainage hole in the bottom. And so I just got a terracotta drip tray to go under it also. So I switched from not really considering what sort of drainage the pot had and getting a lot of glazed materials and drilling holes in it to terracotta. And then I liked the terracotta vibe because it's a very earthy neutral tone and it really let the plant do the talking. But I also wanted to kind of switch it up and have the pots be white so that it could bring out the plant's foliage even more. So I had some leftover white paint from a project, and I just started painting the terracotta white, and so that worked out really well because it was cheap. The terracotta pots are significantly more cost effective than ceramic pots, so that was another reason why I wanted to switch to terracotta, is that it was simple, it matched, and it was affordable. But then I was talking to my boyfriend and he kind of missed some of my more exciting pots. So I, once again from Plantarina, I started kind of switching it up a little bit and kept plants in their nursery pot or their plastic pot, and then just sticking it in a cover pot, whether it be a terracotta pot or something a bit more fancy, because it cut down on the need to drill any holes in anything, and the simplicity of just being able to pop the plant out of the cover pot and then water it over the sink or whatever, and then just stick it back in without having to worry a lot. So I want to kind of show you a couple of different options. So when picking a pot, you want to consider your plant's needs. In general, pots that are made out of some sort of rock or stone, like terracotta, ceramic that isn't glazed, cement, concrete, those sorts of pots are porous and absorb extra water. So those are good for plants that like to dry out completely between waterings, which is, from my research, most houseplants. So ideally you will be sticking houseplants in those sorts of materials. Whereas if you have a plant that likes its soil to stay moist, you can put it in something like glass or ceramic that is glazed, or plastic, because those things are not very absorbent of water, and so it keeps the moisture in the pot longer. So I have several different things going on here that I will show you. I'll kind of start with my oldest method to what I do currently. So here is one of my OG plants. It's a golden pothos, shocking. Actually, no, it's a marble pothos, shocking. And I got this beautifully glazed ceramic pot for it, and it didn't have any holes. I don't want to flip it too much, but I drilled a bunch of holes asymmetrically in the bottom, and I actually cracked this pot, so I had to super glue it. So knowing that this pothos wants to dry out completely between watering, and knowing that this material is not ideal for that, I made sure to put soil in that's extra airy, because I kind of want to combat the fact that the pot isn't going to absorb any excess moisture. So I put in soil that has a lot of amendments, like a lot of perlite. I think at the time all I had was perlite. It looks like there's some bark. Oh, you know what? I must have repotted it because I see charcoal and bark and whatnot. So, good thing to think about if you're going to use a pot that's not ideal for your plant. Think about changing the soil to something even more airy, or you can drill holes in the bottom of your pot. So this is like an old school way that I used to do a lot of my pots for my plants, because I kind of thought that I had to get a new pot with every plant, which you totally don't. That's what I used to do. And then I kind of started moving into keeping the plant in its plastic pot, but then finding a cover pot. So here's a good example. This is a peperomia frost. Look at it, it's so cute and frosty. And inside, and I got this from GabriellaPlants.com, in case you're curious. Inside I have it in its grower's pot, and then I just boop, stuck it in here. And it's perfect because you don't see the grower's pot at all, and you just see this beautiful white planter that gets to bring out the green frostiness in the leaves. So this is a really simple way, and even though this pot is once again glazed, and actually I spray painted it too, it doesn't matter because the plant is in a plastic pot that has tons of drainage. And that's another thing. Growers' pots are kind of ideal, I think, because even though they're plastic, they have so much drainage. So the plastic material of the pot isn't going to absorb any water, but there's so many holes at the bottom that tons of excess water drains through that. So this is kind of more of what I stick with now, kind of just finding a good cover pot. Another thing I did for a long time was keeping the plant in its grower's pot, but then making a plant cover for it. And I just found how to do this on Google or on YouTube, and it's burlap and like white linen or something. I just measured and sewed it to fit this plant. And so this is another cute way that's really simple and cost effective of keeping your plant in the nursery pot, but then making a cute cover for it. So there's that. Here also I mentioned sometimes I would just straight up repot it. This Alocasia odora variegata actually is a rehab plant, and I'm so proud of it. I made a post of it today on my planty Instagram if you want to check it out. This plant I rehabbed in sphagnum moss, but it was ready to come out, and so I put it in this terracotta pot because I really want the soil to drain really well. You can see I accidentally cut part of the leaf. I want the soil to drain really well between watering, so I planted it directly into this terracotta. So that's a thing, if you're gonna repot a plant directly into something, consider the sort of material that's ideal for it. And this is an example of one of the pots that I painted. And if you wanna go the more cost-effective route or porous route of terracotta, but you don't really like the aesthetic of it, there's nothing saying that you can't paint it. Like, you could even paint designs on it or whatever. I'm really sorry if my camera's like falling. I feel like the view has significantly changed since the beginning of this. And then lastly, talking about planting directly in a material that is not water absorbent. So this is a Calathea zebrina, and we all know that Calathea love their moisture and their humidity. So when I repotted this, I found this really cool metallic looking glass container that has no drainage holes. And even though Calathea love moist soil, I still wanted to drill a drainage hole in it, but it's glass, so I figured I'd probably shatter it. So this was the first time I potted a plant directly in a pot that has no drainage holes on purpose. And my idea was I would line the bottom with horticultural charcoal, which absorbs excess water. And I actually made the soil a little bit more airy than I usually would for a Calathea. And then I would just be really cognizant of the moisture level of the soil before watering. So maybe I will water this Calathea less often than another Calathea that's in a grower's pot or in terracotta, because I know that this pot is not absorbing any excess water. So I pretty much wait until the leaves are starting to curl, and they curl a lot, and before I water. And so that is an example of what you can do if you find the perfect pot but it has no drainage and you're not willing to drill any drainage holes. Just thinking about how you might alter, like I said before, the soil that's in the pot and how you water it. You're generally going to water less if the pot doesn't absorb any soil. So I hope that these were some helpful tips and tricks when considering what sort of pots you want to use for your plants. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below, or any other tricks that you have for potting plants or deciding what sort of pot you want to put a plant in. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Botanical Bird, and bird has a U in it, not an I. And follow my planty Instagram, which is @botanical_bird. Remember, I'm rooting for you. Bye.